Let's talk about chapters 13, 14, and 15. The Logging Bee, She Will Not Forget, and The Revival. All chapters in The Man from Glengary by Ralph Connor. 1901 novel by Ralph Connor. Set in Ontario on the Indian lands. We do not see any native peoples in this novel so far. They have the logging bee, where there's a competition, ends up as a competition to see who can clear land. They've all kind of come together to help Donald Do, Black McDonald, Ranald's father, to clear his land that he can actually plant and stuff like that. And they're clearing it, and they get together in a kind of community thing to do that. This Indian land, which no more native peoples on it. They've all been cleared away somehow magically by the Canadian government. And it becomes a contest between Alexander Douglas? I'm going to go with Alexander Douglas, the kind of the cocky young guy that he's been kind of, who'd been making fun of him and he punched. I think that's who it was. And they have a thing, and there's a kind of a very good, really well described kind of thing of having teams of horses, of hooking them up with hooking the chains from the horse to that, and driving and having to hack roots free and drag it, and much is made that he's got a really great horses. He's got awesome horses, and he's practiced with them a lot. And that Ranald ends up with borrowing horses from a guy who, they're kind of more calm, good-natured horses, but he's like, let Ranald do it, and he watches Farquhar or whatever, watches him. It's like, okay, yeah, you're good, and so it's like he's the underdog. And he gets to know the horses, and he's got kind of kind, gentle, he's not lashing them and stuff like that. And the other guy, his friend, kind of just ends up has to drop out. And so it's between the two of them, and they're having the big thing. And in the end, it's sort of a tie. It's sort of, thing. So it's done well. But the other guy, Alexander, does find this kind of irksome. And he makes a point of going up to Mimi and kind of chatting her up, and Ronald, being awkward, also doesn't acknowledge her and kind of just grunts when she tries to congratulate him on his welcome. Mimi kind of presses at Alexander's sore point over, like, oh, he almost beat you. It's like, he's so good, so good with horses, better than anyone in the thing, isn't he? And it's like, kind of goads him that way. And they and she supposedly accepts kind of a ride with Alexander, just to spite Ranald. So we have all that, the spelling bee. The next one is She Will Wait, which is all about that she will wait for him, is all about, like, Mimi's got to go back, and they're definitely so connected, and she bursts out in tears at the end of it all, and confesses her love to the Mrs. Murray, who's there to kind of, her aunt, who's there to kind of cry shoulder on and stuff like that. We then get a chapter, The Revival, which is, I guess, this is where we do get into this. This is written by, he's Reverend Charles Wilson is the actual name of the author, and it's the proselytizing thing of, like, we're getting into, we get like church meetings where there's like kind of earnest debate over topics that I don't really care about. We have there's a new church being built, and to get it built, he brings in a couple of preachers. One is the kind of the university, kind of very kind of logical one, and he talks about the power of love, which just gets the reverend fired up, because this is not the time for that in a fasting day. This is, you have to be, you should be scouring your soul. This is the kind of the hard brimstone stuff. And it turns out that there has been a fight in between chapters, because Alexander said something about Mimi, and Ronald just flattened him, and so they had a kind of a fight off between six on one side, six on the other, actual boxing ring thing. And apparently he got trained up. Ronald got trained up by the Yankee, and he was so hot he wasn't doing his using his legs as Huey, Reverend Mrs. Murphy's young son says he wasn't using his legs. But once he started using his legs, heeding Yankee's advice, who didn't want him to fight in the first place, but when he decided he trained him. That once he used his legs, he just thrashed the guy within an inch of his life. And so the Reverend, when he gets up, he says, your guys are fathers. Where are your sons? You're letting them fight. You're going to damn them to hell. And it's like, what have you done? Kind of real, kind of angry, calling out. And MacDonald Dew at the back of the church cries out in anguish, "Oh my Lord, I'm a sinner," kind of that sort of thing. And he's really hammered by this, and he's got terrible health to begin with, so that the Reverend and Mrs. Murphy both have to kind of go and kind of minister to him, Miss Murphy most of all, and ending with them coming to the next kind of some kind of a church meeting the next day, where I guess would be a questioning, where MacDonald Vane, the brother, kind of announces, we realize we are sinners, and we've come to ask for Jesus Christ's kind of intervention, kind of a real kind of like a come to Jesus moment, literally, literally. And that's sort of how we ended, is their immortal souls, I guess, are going to be saved. This, and it's like I've heard said about Ralph Connor that this is one of his books that is less didactic in its Christianity, which is like, well, this book seems pretty didactic in its thing, though it's interspersing it with some, exciting tree pulling stuff and secondhand stuff about a fight. And in these sections, it's a little bit kind of more, and we just have the kind of the passion between the young people, and sort of the interesting relationship between Mrs. Murphy and Ronald. So it's still very Christian, very kind of like, these aren't really my concerns. I'm passing through some of this stuff. It definitely gives you like an idea of like, wow, this was a bestseller in 1901. So this was like popular. This was something that people would be interested in. Do I think it's a kind of reflection of what actual backwoods people would have actually cared, or would they be just kind of like, oh, I got to humor the priest? I mean, I guess it's like how much. Well, I guess if you're not a backwoods atheist, maybe if you were deeply committed Christian, then you'd be worried about what your highly charismatic and fiery-eyed reverend had to say to you. So it's interesting, though I am feeling kind of distanced from it. I'm wondering, God, Sean is reading this book, and it's like, is he going to DNF it after all the kind of the Christian rah? I'm finding it a little bit distancing. He might just find it insufferable and toss it. I guess we'll find out. All right, I will leave it there. More videos later.